The tenant. I want to be upfront with you about something. Before I start, this story is about a woman named Dana Shell. It's about what happened to her over the course of 6 weeks in the spring of 2 years ago. I know about it because she told me, and because I was there for the last part of it. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand something before we go any further. Dana is one of the most rational, grounded people I have ever met in my life. She was a structural engineer. She stress tested bridges for a living. She thought in load bearing weights and fault tolerances. She did not believe in the supernatural. She did not spook easily. She slept with the lights off and the windows open, and never once checked under the bed. I'm telling you that because I need you to know what it means, what it costs when a person like that starts to come apart. Part 1. Dana moved into the building on Carver Street in late March. It was a good deal, honestly. 3 bedrooms, second floor of a 4-story building in a decent part of the city, $1,400 a month. The building was old, put up sometime in the 50s, but it had been renovated in the early 2000s. New drywall, new plumbing, original hardwood floors that had been sanded down and refinished in a warm honey color. There were tall windows that let in a lot of light in the morning. The radiators made a sound, like a sleeping animal in the cold months. She'd been looking for a place for almost 6 weeks at that point. Her last apartment had fallen through when the building sold and the new owners decided to convert everything to short-term rentals. So she grabbed this one fast. She told me later she should have slowed down, asked more questions. She didn't know what questions to ask. The landlord was a man named Ted Voris, mid-60s, gray at the temples, the kind of man who wore fleece vests over button-down shirts and drove a clean Subaru. Soft-spoken. He gave her the keys personally rather than through a management company. He seemed almost overly helpful. He offered to show her the circuit breaker himself, walked her through the water shutoff, pointed out which window in the second bedroom had a sticky latch. Just lift and push at the same time, he said. The frame settled a little over the years. She thanked him. He wrote his cell number on the back of a business card. Don't hesitate, he said. She thought he was just being a good landlord. The first week was fine. She unpacked in stages, the way you do when you've lived alone long enough to stop pretending you'll get everything done in a weekend. Boxes of books stacked against the living room wall. Her drafting table set up in the largest bedroom, which she used as an office. The second bedroom, the one with the sticky window, stayed mostly empty. An air mattress for guests, a few boxes she hadn't gotten around to sorting yet. She worked from home 3 days a week, went into the office the other 2. She cooked simple dinners, called her sister on Sunday nights, started watching a documentary series about deep-sea geology, and found herself genuinely excited about it in a way that felt embarrassing to explain to other people. It was a quiet life. She liked it that way. The first thing she noticed was a smell. Not a bad smell, exactly. Not rot or mildew. Not the kind of thing that makes you call maintenance. It was more like presence. She described it to me as the smell of a room after someone has been in it for a long time. Warmth in skin and exhalation. You know how a person's bedroom smells different from a guest room? It was like that. Like the apartment had been recently occupied by someone she had never met. She figured it was just the building settling into spring. Old places have old smells. She opened the windows. The smell faded. She forgot about it. The second week, she found the scratch marks. She was cleaning behind the refrigerator. She'd been meaning to do it since she moved in. Kept hitting it off. And when she finally pulled the fridge out from the wall and got a flashlight back there, she saw them on the baseboard. Thin, parallel lines scratched into the wood. Dozens of them, organized into clusters of 5, the way prisoners count days in movies. She counted them, 47 days. She stared at those marks for a long time. Then she took a photo on her phone, pushed the fridge back, and told herself someone's pet had done it. A cat, maybe, or a small dog. She knew it wasn't true. The marks were too uniform, too deliberate. But the alternative explanation hadn't fully formed in her mind yet, and she wasn't ready to let it. She texted her friend Mara about it. Mara sent back 3 skull emojis and said, "Move immediately." Dana sent back a laughing emoji. Neither of them thought it was actually funny. Week 3 was when she started to feel it. She told me it was hard to put into words. It wasn't fear exactly. It was more like heightened awareness. The way you feel in the woods at night when your ears start doing that thing where they seem to go more sensitive. Every small sound becoming deliberate, every shift in the air acquiring weight. She started noticing details she hadn't noticed before. The closet in the empty bedroom had no interior light. Every other closet in the apartment had a pull-string bulb, not this one, just a bare socket with no bulb in it, which was strange because there was clearly wiring there. She could see the socket, just nothing in it. The bathroom exhaust fan didn't work. It had a switch. It made a humming noise when she flipped it, but no air moved through it. She could tell because she held a piece of tissue paper near the vent, and it just hung there, limp. The living room radiator had a valve someone had welded shut. Not the normal kind of welding. She was an engineer. She could tell. Something improvised, deliberate, done with a tool that left gouges in the metal, as if someone had wanted to make absolutely certain that radiator could never be turned off. Small things, not threatening in isolation, but she was an engineer. She thought in systems, and a system of sealed closets and blocked vents and permanently open heat sources started to feel. The more she looked at it, like an environment someone had carefully constructed. She just didn't know who had constructed it or what for. She called Ted Voris on a Thursday evening. "The bathroom fan isn't working," she said, "and I noticed the closet in the second bedroom doesn't have a light bulb. Could you send someone to?" "I'll come by myself," he said. "Saturday morning, okay? Around 10? That's fine." She paused. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "The person who lived here before me, how long were they here?" "A beat. Just long enough that she noticed it." "Not very long," he said. "Couple of months." "Why did they leave?" "Job relocation," he said. "You know how it is." She said yes. She said Saturday was fine. She hung up. Job relocation. 47 scratches on a baseboard. She held both of those things in her mind, and they wouldn't fit together. Saturday morning, Ted arrived at 10 exactly. He came alone, with a small toolbox and a brown paper bag from the bakery 2 blocks away. He brought her a croissant. She thought, at the time, that this was kind. He looked at the bathroom fan first, confirmed it wasn't working, wrote something in a small notebook, said he'd have someone come look at the wiring. He put a bulb in the closet socket, pulled the string. It came on, a bare 60-watt bulb throwing hard shadows. He stepped back and looked at her. "Anything else?" "The baseboard behind the refrigerator," she said. She watched his face carefully. This is something she would tell me later. She was watching for a reaction. She didn't get one. "What about it?" "There are scratch marks, dozens of them, like tally marks." He nodded slowly. "Previous tenant had a dog," he said. "Small thing. A terrier, I think. They'd scratch at everything. They're too regular to be a dog," she said. He looked at her, and for just a moment, she was sure of this. She swore to me she was sure of this. His expression changed, not dramatically, just a small flicker of something. Calculation, maybe. Reassessment. "I'll have someone sand those down," he said. He left 20 minutes later. She stood in the kitchen and listened to his car pull out of the lot. Then she went into the second bedroom and turned on the closet light. In the hard glare of the new bulb, she looked at the back wall of the closet. It had fresh paint on it. Not all over, fresh, just a patch, maybe 3 feet square, low on the wall, roughly at waist height. Someone had touched it up, and not recently enough. The new paint was a slightly different shade from the surrounding wall, and the texture was wrong, a little smoother, filled in somehow. She pressed her palm against it. The wall felt hollow behind that patch. Part 2. What lived in the walls. She didn't sleep well that night. She lay in bed listening to the building, the radiator, breathing its hot breath into the room, pipes settling somewhere above her, the occasional sound of traffic 3 stories below, distant and oceanic, and something else, a sound she couldn't locate. Not loud, not even exactly a sound, more of a rhythm, a cadence, like breathing, but slower, like the building itself was inhaling through some deep internal mechanism. She told herself it was the HVAC. She told herself it was a neighbor. She put on a podcast and fell asleep with it playing. In the morning, she felt foolish. She went to work, came home, cooked pasta, watched half an episode of the geology documentary, went to bed at 10:30. She was tired. At 2:11 a.m., she checked her phone. She woke up. She didn't know why. There was no loud noise, no obvious trigger. She just surfaced from sleep the way you do when something in your body decided it was necessary, before your brain has had time to figure out the reason. She lay still. The apartment was quiet, the way an apartment is quiet at 2 a.m. in a city. Not silent, but layered. Traffic, HVAC, the distant sound of someone's television. And then she heard it. From the second bedroom, a footstep. Just one. Just one careful, deliberate footstep. The kind of sound you make when you are trying very hard not to make a sound. When you are moving through a space and you know the floorboards and you know which ones creak, and you are navigating around them. She did not move. She lay in her bed and she felt her heart doing something architectural, something load-bearing, something that was holding her whole body up by sheer structural necessity. Another footstep, and then silence. She waited for 4 minutes. She timed it on her phone. 4 minutes of absolute silence. And then she got up, turned on every light in the apartment, and checked every room. Nothing. No one. The sticky window in the second bedroom was closed and latched. The front door was locked. The chain was on. She sat on her couch until the sun came up. She started keeping notes. This is a very Dana thing to do. When a system isn't behaving the way it should, you document it. You track anomalies. You look for patterns. She bought a small spiral notebook and started writing down everything that seemed wrong with dates and times. March 28th. Smell in the apartment again. Warmer than it should be. Thermostat says 71, but feels like more. April 1st. Sound at 2:11 a.m. Footstep from second bedroom. Investigated. Nothing found. Window latched. Door chained. April 3rd. Realized I've been waking up around the same time every night. 2 to 2:30. Don't hear anything. Just wake up. Like something is waking me. April 4th. Check the fresh paint patch in the second bedroom closet again. Pressed on it harder. There is definitely a hollow space behind it. Maybe 6 to 8 inches. Too regular to be a defect. But because of what it implied, someone had been in her apartment. She hired a locksmith. New deadbolt. New chain lock. New strike plate. While he was there, she asked him to check all the windows. He did. Tested the latches, checked the frames for signs of forced entry, looked at the building's exterior where each window was accessible. "You okay?" he asked. He was maybe 40, heavy-set, with the kind of direct gaze that inspires confidence. "Trying to be. You feel like someone's been in here?" She hesitated. "I don't know." He nodded, like he'd heard this before. "You want my advice? Get a camera. Just a small Wi-Fi one. Points at the front door. If anyone comes in, you'll know." She bought one that afternoon, set it up on the bookshelf across from the door, angled to capture anyone entering. She got the app on her phone. She checked it 3 times before bed. Nothing. For 4 days, nothing. And then, on a Tuesday, she came home from the office and checked the camera feed out of habit. And the camera was facing the wrong direction. Not by much, maybe 15 degrees, but she had placed it very deliberately, and she knew exactly where it had been pointing. Someone had turned it just enough to eliminate the sightline to the hallway that led to the second bedroom. She stood in the middle of her apartment for a long moment. Then she took out her phone and called me. I should tell you who I am. My name is Jeff. Dana and I went to college together. We've been close friends for almost 12 years. I am not an engineer, and I am not especially rational, and I believe in a wider range of possibilities than she does, or did. We have had many arguments about this. She thinks I'm credulous. I think she's inflexible. This was the first time she called me scared. I drove to her apartment that evening. She met me at the door. She looked like she hadn't been sleeping. Not the dramatic movie version of sleeplessness, but the real kind. A slight gray quality to the skin around her eyes. A tension in her jaw. She walked me through everything. The smell, the scratches, the hollow wall, the waking at 2 a.m., the footsteps, the light, the camera. I listened to all of it. I tried to keep my face neutral, and I said, "Dana, you know what you're describing. Someone is getting into my apartment," she said. "Yes, that's the rational explanation. That's the terrifying explanation." "I know." We both looked at the door to the second bedroom. "Have you told anyone else?" I asked. "I called the police. They sent someone. He walked through the apartment, said there was no sign of forced entry. Told me to call back if it happened again. She paused. He looked at me like I was being hysterical. You're the least hysterical person I know. I know. I asked if I could look at the closet. She said yes. We went into the second bedroom together. The room felt different from the rest of the apartment, slightly cooler, or maybe just psychologically cooler. I couldn't be sure. The air mattress was still in there, deflated now, folded against the wall, the unsorted boxes, the window with the sticky latch. She opened the closet. I looked at the back wall. She was right. You could see the paint patch clearly once you knew to look for it. A slightly different tone, slightly smoother texture. I pressed my knuckles against it and knocked lightly. Hollow, unmistakably hollow. What's on the other side of this wall? I asked. She'd thought about this. A utility space, maybe. The building has them. There's a maintenance corridor that runs along the back of the units. I saw it on the floor plan when I signed the lease, accessible from a door in the basement. So theoretically, I said slowly, someone with access to the basement could get into a utility corridor, and from the utility corridor, through this wall? She looked at me. Yes. And your landlord has access to the basement. She didn't say anything. I took out my pocket knife and handed it to her. Do you want to open it? Part 3. Behind the wall. She took the knife. She ran the blade along the edge of the paint patch, slowly, testing the seam. On the third pass, something gave. A soft pop, like a suction release, and a section of the wall swung inward. Not a full door, more like a panel, maybe 20 inches wide, 30 inches tall, low. You'd have to crouch to get through it. We both stood there looking at it. The space beyond was dark. I turned on the flashlight on my phone and held it through the opening. It was a crawl space, maybe 4 feet high, running the width of the building. The floor was bare concrete, old and faintly damp. There were pipes along the ceiling, hot water pipes, insulated with that gray foam you see in old buildings. The walls were cinder block, and it had been lived in. Not elaborately, not comfortably, but deliberately. Against the far wall, maybe 12 feet back, there was a sleeping bag, rolled out flat, an old pillow at the head. Next to it, a plastic bin with a lid, a small battery-powered lantern, a water bottle, a paperback book. I couldn't read the title from the doorway. And on the concrete floor around the sleeping bag, dozens of small items arranged with a strange, methodical care. Cans of food, a flashlight, a small notebook. And on the cinder block wall above the sleeping bag, tally marks. I could see them from where I was standing, dozens and dozens of tally marks. Dana was not making a sound beside me. I looked at her. Her face had gone completely white. Not the white of shock, the white of understanding, of something snapping into place. How long? She said. Not a question, more like her voice running the calculation out loud. I looked at the sleeping bag, the worn flat quality of it, the way the floor around it had been swept clean, despite everything else being coated in construction dust. Dana, we need to leave the apartment. How long has someone been living in my wall? Right now, I need you to. Jeff. Her voice was very quiet, very careful. The footsteps I heard, the light that turned off, the camera. I know. Someone has been in here while I was sleeping. We left the apartment, walked down to the street. She called the police from the sidewalk while I stood beside her, watching the building's windows. Second floor, second from the left, her window. The living room, the curtain moved. I told myself it was the HVAC. I didn't believe myself. 2 officers came, a woman named Reyes and a man named Park. They were professional and careful, and I could tell they were taking it seriously, more seriously than the first officer had. Maybe because now there was physical evidence. They went up first. Dana and I waited on the street. 20 minutes later, Reyes came down alone. We found the space, she said. We found the sleeping bag, the food, the personal items. Is someone in there? Dana asked. No. No one in the crawl space right now. But, she paused. We found a few things I want you to see. We went back up. In the second bedroom, Park had his phone flashlight aimed into the crawl space. He was crouched by the panel opening, not entering. It was a crime scene now. Look at the back of the panel, he said. I looked. On the back of the panel, the side that faced into the crawl space, there were scratch marks, not the organized tally marks from the baseboard in the kitchen. These were different, frantic, dense, like something clawing at the surface over and over. The wood was gouged deep. "What does that mean?" Dana asked. Neither officer answered immediately. "And look at the personal items," Reyes said quietly. "The notebook." Park photographed it before they opened it. Then he held it up so we could see it through a plastic evidence bag. It was a journal. The handwriting was small and very neat, the kind of handwriting that belongs to someone who has had a lot of time and very little space. I could only see the last page before Park closed it again, but what I saw was enough. The last entry read, "She doesn't know I'm here. I've been careful. I just need to be close to her. I just need to know she's okay. I would never hurt her. I need her to understand that eventually, when she's ready, when she feels comfortable with me. I have been here 47 days, and I have not once disturbed her. I am getting better at this." Part 4. Ted. The investigation moved fast after that. Forensics found fingerprints in the crawl space. The water bottle had DNA. The sleeping bag was registered to an outdoor equipment rental program that had records. The prints matched Ted Voris. I want you to sit with that for a second. Ted Voris, the landlord who came with a croissant, who wrote his cell number on the back of a card, who fixed the sticky window latch himself, personally, who knew which floorboards in the second bedroom creaked, who had renovated the apartment 2 years ago and knew exactly where the hollow wall was, because he had built it. The man who had constructed a living space inside the wall of his own rental apartment. The man who had been in that space while Dana slept 20 feet away. The tally marks on the baseboard. 47 days. That was how long the previous tenant had lasted before she moved out. The police found her. She was living in another city now. When they reached her, she said she'd left because she felt wrong in the apartment. Couldn't sleep. Got a job offer out of state and took it. She'd chalked the discomfort up to moving stress. She'd never found the panel. They arrested Ted at his house the following morning. He came to the door in a fleece vest and offered the officers coffee. He was cooperative, calm. He said he had a right to enter his own property. He said he hadn't done anything wrong. He said Dana was a wonderful tenant and he just wanted to make sure she was safe. He kept saying it, make sure she was safe. He said it 6 times in the first 20 minutes, according to Officer Reyes, like a refrain, like it meant something to him that it clearly meant something entirely different to everyone else. Dana was not at the arrest. She was staying in my apartment. She sat at my kitchen table with her hands wrapped around a cup of coffee that had gone cold, and she was very still, the way she gets when she's doing engineering, when she's running numbers in her head, stress testing something structural, looking for where it fails. "I never felt afraid of him," she said. "That's not a character flaw," I told her. "He had a key. He was in my apartment when I was sleeping. He had been in my apartment for how long? Before I moved in, how long had he been using that space?" I didn't have an answer for her. "He brought me a croissant," she said. Her voice was very flat. "I know. He wanted to seem kind." She paused. "He was kind. That's what I keep coming back to. He was genuinely kind in every interaction." She looked at her hands. "He was kind the way someone is kind when they've convinced themselves they deserve something." The investigation turned up other things. In Ted's house, in a locked room on the second floor, they found a collection of photographs, all of them taken through windows, hundreds of them, organized chronologically by address. Carver Street was the most recent file. Dana's file, the second to last file, 43 photographs, was an address on Millbrook Avenue. A woman named Sophie Kwan. She'd moved out of that building 2 years ago, she told police. She'd had trouble sleeping. She'd felt watched. She'd never found anything. The police went to the building on Millbrook Avenue. They found the landlord. Ted had sold it, but the new owners had not done a full renovation. They found a panel in the utility space behind a coat closet on the second floor. They found a sleeping bag that was not the same as the one in Dana's apartment, and 43 marks on the cinder block wall. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how to end this story in a way that feels like an ending. The case is still ongoing. Ted Voris made bail. His lawyer argued he was not a flight risk, which may be the most terrifying sentence I have ever read in a legal document. He is not allowed within 500 feet of Dana or her apartment. Dana is not living on Carver Street anymore. She broke the lease. She's staying with family while she looks for somewhere new. She has a checklist now, Before she signs any lease, she checks every closet for interior lights. She knocks on walls, listening for hollows. She researches her landlord's name, cross-referenced with any property sales or transfers. She checks the building's floor plan against the actual layout of the unit. She is still an engineer. She still thinks in systems, but she told me the last time we talked about it that something has permanently changed for her. Not in the way horror movies would have it. She's not afraid of the dark. She doesn't check under her bed. It's something more fundamental than that. I trusted that the space was what it appeared to be, she said. I trusted that the walls were just walls. She paused. I keep thinking about Sophie Kwan, about the tenant before me, about how many people moved through those apartments feeling wrong, feeling watched, and just left, and told themselves it was stress or new place jitters, and how Ted just waited them out, how he counted the days. She looked at her hands. 47 days, 43 days. He was getting better at it too. The other tenants lasted shorter. He was learning how long he could stay before they felt it. She didn't say what came next. She didn't have to. He was getting better at not being felt. There are things the police found in the crawl space that were never made public, because the case is still ongoing and the evidence hasn't been fully processed. Officer Reyes told me this much, unofficially. I think she wanted someone to know. The sleeping bag was one of 3 inside that crawl space. The other 2 were zipped up. I will leave you to understand what that means. Asleep well.